What's up, everybody? It's your favorite Swords favorite nerd, and today we are looking at Unique Toys Sworder. And you know I like to overpronounce the W. And this is going to be fun. Sworder comes with 4 swords that he can hold. I'm kind of over it, to be honest. Look, I'm operating off 2 hours of sleep, and this transformation sucks. So, forgive me now. Or you won't. And you'll leave nasty comments in the little comments section, which I will either ignore or make you try to feel guilty about. Whatever. So he comes with some accessories. They're fine. A lot of this is kind of in the fine department, but we're going to talk about it. He does come with this thing. I can't find a way for it to plug in anywhere. It's got a small little place where it seems as though it should. This piece separates. I'm not sure. Well, we'll talk about that later. And it seems like it should plug in somewhere, but I've looked. Most of the tabs and stuff that I see are too big to fit, and then otherwise it doesn't really. I guess he can hold it. I guess that's some cartoon reference that I don't remember. That's fine too, but there should be a place to stow it. Outside of that, he comes with this gun, and he holds it like a champ. It's got a trigger finger articulation, which I do like, but there's no trigger on it, so maybe all for nothing kind of sort of thing. Silver paint on the gun, which is nice. I don't feel like we get enough paint on accessories. I think they're kind of thought of as an afterthought, which is a shame because they can really make something, so I definitely applaud them for that. That's just a small bit of paint add, but it really does break up the gun and at least make it look more interesting than it normally would. So cheers to them for that. And then you can hold this. I'm not sure if I had to prove that or not, but there it is. And now he's looking at it very dynamically, which is also fine. Sworder's Swords here. And some of you, I know people always comment on the overpronunciation of the W and why do I do it. And it's mainly because Wu-Tang used to do it, which I always thought was funny. Liquid Swords and so forth. So these are his swords, and he does hold them. It's mainly done with tension. Actually, it's 100% done with tension if we're going to nitpick. And I think that they're fine. They look cool. They're not really appropriate, I guess, for the character, but it is a cool way to incorporate them, the parts forming element. And as you can see, they tab onto the sides of his legs. They can get slightly in the way of articulation. If you go back and look at the beginning of the video, you'll see that, yeah, we're failing here. But that's because they're not ratcheted, and we're going to talk about that. For the swords on the legs, if you fold these pieces, they come in the box fully extended, which hits up against this hip area. But if you fold these down here and then plug them in, you won't have that problem at all. It just looks looks slightly more unsightly. Slightly more unsightly. Yeah, that'll work. ToyWorld's plastic is, not ToyWorld, but yes, ToyWorld too. Unique Toys plastic it's not bad, but it is kind of pliable, which comes in handy for stuff like these swords. But yeah, let's take this off also. He's on loan to me, I should say this as well. He's on loan to me by Tyler L, aka Snowflake. He's a part of a 2-man podcast called Toy Detox, which I am a fan of and I listen to, and you can find them, I think, on the YouTubes and iTunes and probably Stitcher and all that kind of stuff, all those audio outlets. And then 2 more swords plug in back here, which is cool because there's 4 of them, and it's nice to have the storage, right? There's a size comparison of him with their Rodimus, the Takara Hot Rod, their Blur, and X-Transbot's Tailgate, just some later on characters. And I will say I really like their scale. I much prefer the bigger bots like with Blur with Rodimus than I do with Hot Rod with Rodimus. That's just me. I just think it looks cooler. I think it looks more appropriate, and I think it makes them all look a bit more intimidating rather than this fellow, which I feel like is a bit on the scrawny side. I get people that like that, and I get why they like it. I totally do. I'm just saying, for my own personal preference, I do like the size. And there he is with the Generations Sandstorm. Now, the Generations Sandstorm really did a great job. First of all, it was a great mold. But secondly, it did a great job of nailing down that IDW aesthetic. But it's not very G1. However, to be fair, neither is this. So that argument is completely, totally, and utterly valid. Let's talk about them. So the head is on a hinge swivel, which is my favorite way to articulate a masterpiece head. I like it better than a ball joint because I think it's more secure, I think it makes him more stoic, and I don't like a head on tilt for a robot. I don't like the confused dog look for a robot. It's just not my thing. The face sculpt, I'm not sure if it's totally Sandstorm, the face sculpt, but I do like it. I do like it a lot. It's very robotic, and it's also very human. The paint on there is also superb. That's silver paint. There's black. I'm not sure if it's paint or wash on the lips and around the eyes, and then the eye paint is painted on top of that. And that all is really well done. It's extremely well done, to be quite honest. Then we have black plastic for part of the helmet, and then yellow plastic for the other part. And the yellow plastic in general comes across plain. There's some... You know, it's just like the black down here. Like, doesn't bother me at all. But there's some types of plastics without paint on them or a finish on them that just drive me nuts. They just end up looking cheap, and it's really due to no fault of the quality of the figure. It's just the overall kind of choices made. And this is one of those situations, both with the orange and the yellow. And I'm not finished with this orange yet. Not finished by a long shot, but we'll get there in a second. So, head works fine. Shoulders, you kind of got a reverse butterfly joint. It's not really intended for articulation, but for photo purposes and such, you'd never tell the difference, and you could fake it till you make it, girl. Arms, we got a swivel and a hinge, so it's like a universal system. It is ratcheted. Pretty good ratchet, too. Get you up to there, to a bicep swivel, to a disproportionate forearm on a soft ratcheted elbow that gets you just 90, a little shy of 90 degrees, but what do you say we give it to him? You on board? I am. Silver paint down here on the forearm, which all looks good. It's well done anyway. It could definitely use more. And then silver paint on the orange, which looks fantastic. So that's cool. Wrist swivel. And we got the, like I said before, the trigger finger on a hinge and the other three on a hinge. But the gun doesn't have a trigger, so you can't really point with this finger. You can just kind of do the come here, you. And so fairly useless, although it is there. We got a forearm swivel as well. Also kind of goes in that useless category, but it's more so for transformation, which unfortunately we do have to cover. Same on this side, articulation's the same. For the orange, we've got two different types of orange plastics. I'm not sure if it's picking it up, but this is a different shade than that, which is driving me bonkers. A little bit of fuzz there. I just don't care for it. The blue paint here looks brilliant, but it gets a little out of control down there. It's got like a chrome-ish finish to it, which looks good. The silver paint looks good, both on the hips and the abdomen. So that looks fine. Back of the bot cleans up fairly well, in all fairness, and I don't really have any complaints in that regard. This looks a little unsightly, this part here, and let's talk about these arms. It just deserves a bit of a talking. So the arms are fairly proportionate. If anything, actually, they're a bit short, but it may be because the torso is too long and this area is definitely too short. So there's a number of things proportionately that are kind of working against this guy. Waist swivel is there, but it's below the actual waist, which doesn't help the overall dynamics of the proportion. So you get the waist down here, and if you don't have these legs just quite right, these pieces will hit and bump against the upper thigh. So you get it right, you get the full waist swivel. You got to kind of keep manipulating them, but not right, and you get just a little bit. But even that little bit is still kind of anatomically correct, so I'm okay with it if you are. Coming out to the hips, we have a universal joint, non-ratcheted, and he's a fairly heavy figure, so I've had them fail on me a bit. Oh, they're ratcheted? A weak ratchet front to back. You hear it? You can barely hear it. Listen. It's whispering to you. Thigh swivel. Knee on a single hinge that gets you 90 degrees. And we kind of got the same kind of proportions for the legs that we do for the arms, where the upper thigh is kind of short and then the calves are big. But for big robots, that doesn't bother me as much as this does. This is more unsightly. For the legs, we have a ton of detailing, which we're going to talk about more probably in different modes, but we have this silver paint here on the black, which looks great. We have this blue chrome. We have this orange paint on this translucent piece, which looks really good from most angles, and then we have the silver on the back. We also have a, a knee swivel, a bit repetitive, but it's there, and then we have an ankle. I thought we had a tilt. A slight tilt down. Nothing really up, but the rocker is complete. So that's, you know, if you're going to have one, I definitely prefer the rocker. But, you know, it's always nice to have both. This is definitely going to be done in a montage, and I'm not even going to lie to you. It's going to be because I'm going to make plenty of mistakes along the way because it is a bit of a train wreck. So, let's begin, shall we? Step 1, turn the head 180 degrees. I should also mention that the instructions suck. I rarely use instructions, so maybe they're good, but I definitely used them for this guy and found that they sucked. Untab these pieces from the back, and then wrap them all the way around to the front, and extend these pieces here. On the side, bring this piece down, bring this piece on this sliding hinge here, and then you should be able to untab the waist from this part here to kind of open up the entire figure. Untab the shoulders, like we talked about for that reverse butterfly joint. And then you want to untab these pieces here. Get that up and out of the way. And then you should be able to rotate this entire section around. You're going to do the same on the other side. This piece here. Alright, there we go. And once that's out of the way, you take these two pieces here and fold them 180 degrees back onto themselves. Now you want to take it at this hinge here, that should be right about around his head, and turn that 180. At this point, we need to feed this up in to this area, and in order to do so, we kind of got to have these wheels back into place. And then this is going to come up there. We're going to take these pieces here and turn them around. And what we're looking for is to turn them 180 degrees. Sorry if you can't see that. And this is going to capture this armature here. Now I'm going to try my best to show you that, but I'm not making any promises. So there, and then we can lock this also into place. Easy for me to say. There's one. There's the other. But I lost my piece here. And this has got to come down like this. Rotate this. Keep an eye on all that. There. And there. And that's a fairly challenging piece, just from the amount of moving pieces that kind of have to go together. But that's kind of what you're looking for. And now let's do some feet. So I wish I could tell you that this was easier, but that's not the case. So open up this yellow bit. We need to get access to all these fun bits up in here. So rotate this down and around, and then bring this out and just try to get it. There's like there. That's what you want right there. This all opened up. And we get to build the outside of the helicopter. So there's a tab here, and this piece is moving on a double hinge. So it'll clear it, you just got to move it properly, which is easier said than done sometimes. So that's that. And same for the other side. So open up your yellow piece. Make sure that your foot is out of the way. Bring the helicopter canopy out and around. This will extend. And then bring this piece around. And then this piece up and around. And that's the top parts of both. The bottom of the feet, you want to grab this tire and you really got to pull it up and then hinge it back down on that hinge there so that it sits inside that little wheel well. We'll do it for the other side as well. Lift up. There it is. Fold down. Good grief. Inside that wheel well. So I'll try to show you here. This is kind of where it's at, and as you can see, they don't line up. So if you move the yellow piece out of the way, you can spin this one 360, which puts it in a better location to come down and grip the bottom side of the helicopter. Now let's get our arms ready. So you want to bring down here, we've untabbed as you recall, rotate this whole panel in, and then you want to plug that up in there. Alright, so if we're looking at the helicopter, the rotor's up top, our shoulders down at the bottom. We're going to take this orange piece here, untab it, and then you got to bring it all the way around to the back, and you'll see it'll tab kind of right back into there. And then, anyway, take this, fold it down at the elbow, and then you want to slide this all the way back as far as she'll go. And to be honest with you, she'll go further than you think she should go, all things being equal. And I think there's a so to speak to be mentioned in there. Alright, let's do it again. Let's do this orange bit first. That might help us. We'll rotate that around. You got to pull up to rotate it around because it tabs in. And then I don't think the fists matter, so to speak. Alright. So that tabs back into there. Rotate the arm so that you can get the elbow and then push it. Push it. Oh man, alright, hold on. There. And, you know, we'll get it cleaned up like we normally do in the end. Now what we're going to do is we're going to tuck in our hips into the open space there. We'll bring this around. That plugs into the side there. And that should hold it. We're going to do the same to the other side. And once that's lined up, we can then plug the front end of this together. And we're almost done. Final countdown. Take this top bit. We want this tab into that slot there. The best we can. These side pieces need to rotate 180 where that hinge there comes into the plastic piece. The problem, like most things that are set like this, is that you have a tremendous amount of torque to move these, and it's a tight joint. You see the strain that is putting on the bottom hinge? See how you can see a little bit more of the pin as I go to manipulate it? So that's a, oh, I don't like that at all. That's a problem. That's a problem. We're gonna do the best we can. Oh, goodness gracious. It feels like I'm gonna break it. But I've got it. That's step one. Take this top piece here, flip it up on top. Then this piece you can continue on around, and then this piece here hinges in, and you want to plug this and that underneath right there and there. And I will try to show you the best I can. I think these move. Yeah, these move so you can help get them out of your way. Same for the other side. So we'll turn this up, all the way up, so to speak. And then we'll flip this around. And then we're going to rotate that in. And she's done. Our blades here, I'll speed this up. Make sure when you're pressing down that you have the black piece against a plastic and not floating out here, just for the amount of force that you kind of have to use to get this in. It'll put less stress on that black piece of plastic. Tail fin here hinges out and then down. And our rotor separates. Then on the underside, unpeg these pieces, bring them out, and then rotate this piece up, and they peg back in. And it's also a tight tolerance, but it will go. And now this will allow you to have the landing gear kind of stowed, but you can also, with the help of a tool, if you have fingers like mine, or a different tool, if you have tools like mine, can bring these landing gear out. And that's it. And she rolls, and the rotors spin. They get a little jammed up because they're heavy. This rotor spins. I like that the blue windows here and then blue here. I don't like how the oranges are mixed matched. Both thank you for being my friend so far. We haven't talked about my stuttering problem, but thank you for being my friend so far. We have this mixed matched, good grief, like my words are right now, oranges, which is especially irritating on the door and on the back. Now, it does make me ask, because this is paint, this orange, and this is plastic, why didn't they use this orange, which I feel like is a little bit closer? Things that make you go, But yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool looking helicopter, and you could probably get this a little tighter. I'm not comfortable really putting a whole lot of force on this, as this is Snowflake's, and you know, he's a unique and special snowflake like all of you, and I don't want to damage his toy, but it is a pretty cool helicopter, I must admit. Now we're gonna go to car mode. Before we do, I want to let you know that you can fold this in here, and then this can peg in to the side here. You can arm up, which I think actually does look good. I think a lot of times when you arm up vehicles, it looks stupid, but I think that actually does look good. Now we're gonna go to car mode, which is even worse. So we have to undo some of what we have done. Open this up here. Let's see. Open this top piece. Separate this open. And we need to take a closer look at the arms, but we can untab them. Take these fists, they're on a hinge here. And it's a tight tab, but untab them, bring them around. And then this orange fin, you want to flip around to the outside. So same on the other side. Good night. There, and then flip around to the other side. I think it's okay if the hand comes with it. If not, we'll fix it. Turn the head around. That's one of those things that's easy to forget. Open your tail, so to speak, back up, mainly so that you can get access to this piece to get it up and out of the way. He's got two little shoulder pads. Just rotate those up, and then untab these chest panels. And they have to come all the way up. There's a hinge all the way up that sits here. Just keep pushing it, and it'll go. Same for the other side. And they actually are going to come back around over the top, but we'll do that here in a second. There's a lot that has to happen within the next couple steps, so let's get as much of this done as we can. Collapse this, that'll pay off later. Open up these side panels here. And bring this back. At this, I think it's there. No, it's here. See, there's so many hinges, it's just easy to get confused. Spin these around 180. They're going to make up the back of the vehicle. So you want to turn here. It's hard, man. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. And then you want to turn here and then rotate this whole piece up. So first hinge, 90 degrees. Second hinge, 90 degrees. On the same second hinge, it's a double hinge, a swivel rather, and that'll rotate up. On the opposite side, you can then open this up, push the head down, and close it back up. Just be cognizant of this other piece here. There, that's it. And that'll be nice and sort of flush. What I suggest doing is flipping these orange pieces up, the same ones that we had to do to get it into open it up in the initially to go to helicopter mode. That'll just let the wheel sit a little bit more flush. The whole thing with this is staying oriented. So this feels more like a vehicle because it's squared up. Take this hinge here, all this accordions in and collapses. These two tabs on both sides correspond to those two slots. And I'm not 100% there. There. Great. Googa mooga. Is that frustrating? But there it is. And then you take these two pieces that were kind of nightmares and fold them in, and they should line up right about here to form up the front of the vehicle. And mine isn't super squared away, but it's going to have to do for now. And you can bring these pieces around that we talked about before, and they're going to tab into this tab here, into that, or rather, just tab slot, you know what I mean? There. Bring the other one through and tab in. And I guess while we're here, we can tab this part in. So that black tab goes inside the orange piece there, and this sort of slides up in there. All this stuff kind of wraps around, and this should line up on this side. This is fairly intuitive, but there are a number of things that have to kind of align for you. And there's a good chance it's going to come undone, just as a heads up, but just so you know. On the underside, get this. I can't remember. I have to take a look. I don't remember whether you're supposed to tuck all this. I don't know. But take this, and we'll plug that up in there. That just slides in, and it kind of forces everything to be where it needs to be. Close your landing gear. Unpeg these. Bring them around, and you can just tab them right back in, I think. If not, we'll untab them, and we'll sort that out later. These you want to bring back around and have them the way you initially had them, I believe. Okay. Split the legs. open up this section here, and you kind of got to undo what you did before. This here is in two sections. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's fold in this stuff here first. This folds back in, so that double hinge is flush. This all tucks in. It's on a sliding joint, right? And then remember it spun before, so we want to spin it again by getting this yellow piece out of the way for the clearance for this to spin 180 or 360 rather, which will sit these off center, which is what we're looking for. Same on this side, so go ahead and get that out of the way there. We'll open this up. We'll tuck all this back, tuck this in, make sure that that's elongated, so to speak. Fold that back. Now that we have the clearance, we can rotate this 360, which will once again give us our off-centered bit of business. We can then untab this section from this section. So now we have this split into two. This then folds back around on itself and plugs into the side of the vehicle. And this is where I get ate up. So I know that this black tab tabs into there. So it's just a matter of making that happen. There. Same for this side. Split this here. And then this will allow you to keep this free spinning. Once again, we're going to tab that black tab there into that orange slot there. And I know it's hard to figure out what's going on when you're watching it. If it makes you feel any better or worse, it's hard to know what's going on when you're sitting here doing it. There. This is the best way I can think to try to tell you how to do this. Make sure that you can see your rotors. Make sure that you can see your two black screws here. Fold at the pelvis till the black screws are facing towards the front of the vehicle. Bend at the knee, trying to get this piece through. Turn this section here, and we'll deal with that in a minute. And we're going to do that for both sides. And hopefully keep these out of the way. I can't remember which is the best way to do these rotors. Let's try to do them like that. So we're going to do the same thing here. Get that through. Angle this out. And that sets you up for success. You want these two pieces to tab together, and then they're going to tab back down onto there and there. In order to do that, you got to move these out of the way. They become side view mirrors, which is actually pretty cool. And then this has to come down and plug in. And these back pieces plug together as well. So that's going to have to be as good as she's going to get today. So you want to connect these arm pieces. You got one little tab there and one little tab there, and they interlock into the orange pieces, the yellow pieces into the orange pieces. And then to finish up this part here, we got to use that same joint again. So just be careful. Flip out this orange piece. Obviously the tail lights, so that should tell you to move it towards the rear. so to speak. Same on this side. Fold out towards the rear, double joint down, double joint down. And then this should theoretically tab back into here. I feel like there's an awful lot of this that has to be kind of pulled or pushed in order to fit in, and I'm not comfortable doing a lot of it. And then lastly, you take these arms here and you peg them in. This one has a peg and a slot. This one has a slot and a peg. It's like reversed. So that goes in. And then that goes in, and you're done. Now, in my most humble, let's be honest, shall we? I don't really have many humble opinions, I don't believe. But in my honest opinion, let's say, this doesn't look remotely close to a dune buggy. It's car-shaped. So it goes from a robot to a helicopter that looks pretty awesome to a car-shaped thing that rolls. And I like the little mirrors and stuff, I'll be honest. But outside of that, I don't like it. I mean, you know, the ongoing joke has been that it's the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile, and I definitely agree with that. Even though the joke is a bit, I guess, played out at this point, I still, even in person, feel like it is representative of that more so than it is Sandstorm's vehicle mode. You can take his gun and you can plug it in here, and that's actually, you know, a fairly decent use of it. I think in the instructions they have it facing backward, which is also fine, I suppose. But wait, it gets worse. You can take these and you can plug them around, and then you can put these on the top here. I guess they got to go this way. You know, and it can just, you know, it can just look as dumb as your little heart would like. That's a thing, isn't it? Let's do a size comparison with our old friend Tiger Tracks, of course. So, definitely scaled for this thing. I feel like the Imperial officer, when they barge into the room with Chewbacca in cuffs, and it's like, where are you taking this thing? It's kind of how I feel about this at the moment. This is definitely the weakest of the three modes, and it's the biggest pain to get to, so I'm going to tell you, if you plan on purchasing this, not worth the cost of admission to go to this mode unless you're a huge fan of that look. Otherwise, just enjoy a helicopter and robot mode. Usually I do the good and the bad, but this thing is so different and unique, so to speak, that I feel like I gotta just talk. And we'll see where we end up at the end. So it's not poorly made, okay? It's over-engineered to a point where it's no longer fun for me, but if you're a person that likes really involved transformations, it may in fact be fun for you. There's not a lot of paint on it. The paint that is applied well. The articulation is there, but it's awkward. Like, he gets the elbow, but it's too high. He gets the hip, but it's too low. There's just proportion issues that plague this thing. This is what it comes down to. Whether or not you like the way this thing looks. If you do, you'll be fine with it, because it is fairly efficient. The dune buggy mode sucks. There's just no getting around that. And it sucks getting to it. So my suggestion is don't even bother. Helicopter mode is pretty good, and the robot mode is pretty good if you like the way it looks. To me, I like the way it looks enough, but I don't think it looks like Sandstorm. That's my issue with it. I can see how someone would think it looks like Sandstorm. It's like when somebody says, oh, there's this person, he looks exactly like you. And then you see or meet that person, you're like, it doesn't look anything like me. I don't see it. It's just too far off the reservation for me. And we're reaching a point in third party where we can be fairly selective, because someone at some point is going to make another Sandstorm. And hopefully that Sandstorm will look a little bit more like the cartoon did. This is just unremarkable, would be the best way that I choose to describe it. It's unremarkable. But if you like the way it looks, if this does it for you, then I would recommend it, because it's fine. If you don't like the way that this looks, like me, I don't think that you're going to get it in hand and think to yourself, you know what, it'll do. I think that if this isn't close enough to the Mark G1Ys for you, then more than likely it's going to be a placeholder. You know, and I just don't know if third-party companies can afford to make many placeholders anymore, because there's a number of really talented companies in the game right now. And to be fair, Unique Toys or DX9 or whatever it is included. Because I really like their Blur. I really like their Rodimus. I really like their, I don't know. I'm sure I like something else of theirs too, but it's just awkward. And it's in a weird shape. It's very plain. And I know he's a plain character, but I would be okay if it was a plain character that looked more like the character. As it is, it doesn't do it for me. There's also, I don't know if you can see this paint chipping down here, where that orange is. And it's not so much the paint is chipping properly. The paint isn't supposed to carry on down into this. Like, that's done clean over there. But it's not done clean over here. So as this translucent piece is, you know, hitting up against other things, it's getting mucked up a taste. It's just too far left for me. I can't recommend this with good conscience if your collection has more of a cartoon look. Now, if I totally get the whole, you know, the cartoon is a little oversimplified, I kind of want modern looking, and I think that's what's kind of happening, is we're getting like this masterpiece scaled figure that's more of a modern, updated look, and it kind of fits into that realm, but that realm isn't for me. Sandstorm isn't an important enough character for me where I feel like I need a placeholder, and I'm willing to sacrifice the aesthetics of the shelf in order to obtain that placeholder. So I can't with good conscience recommend this if you're not crazy about the aesthetic. There's nothing in hand that's going to make you like it even more. There may be a few things that make you like it even less. However, if you like really involved transformations, if you like the way this thing looks, if you like more adaptive representations of these characters rather than more literal translations, this is for you. I'm not that guy, but maybe you are. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.